Hello again, Steve Grizzetti, co-founder of MoviePix.com and author of the MoviePix Guide to CyberLink PowerDirector Ultimate. And here we are in part 4 of our 8-part basic training for CyberLink PowerDirector. Now we've got our media in our media room here in the upper left-hand corner, and we pre-trimmed or pre-treated some clips, but now it's time to actually reassemble the clips on the timeline. Now the timeline is this area down here in the lower half of the interface. You notice that you have number 1 track, number 2 track is below it, although technically number 2 track is actually above the number 1 track. In other words, number 1 is your base video and audio track. As we add clips to track number 2, they will actually appear in our video above the tracks that are on number 1. So our timeline is inverted. Don't let that confuse you. It'll just become obvious as we work. Now there is an FX track or an effects track where we can add video effects that is above our video 1 track. We can add video effects directly to the clips we add to our timeline, or we can add them to the video effect track. And then down at the bottom, we have a text track, and this is for adding titles, and a voiceover track. And this is where, if we record narration, this is where the clips will appear for narration. However, those are just designated as text and as voiceover. You can actually put your voiceover on any audio track if you'd like, and you can put your titles on any video track if you'd like. We'll look at titles a little bit later here in the course. Adding video to our timeline is really pretty simple. We just drag it on down to the timeline. Now the timeline does ripple in CyberLink PowerDirector. That means as you add clips, if I insert a clip into a group of clips, the other clips are going to move off to the right. As I remove clips, the others are going to move to the left to fill in the gap. However, you have to manually select what happens as you add and remove clips, and then the program will ripple based on what your choices are. So I'm just going to take a clip and add it up here to our video 2 track just to show you something. If I were to select this clip in between these 2 other clips on my video 1 track, and I press the delete button on my keyboard, you notice I get an option pop up. Remove and leave a gap there, remove and fill gap, or remove, fill gap, and move all clips. Now if I select remove and fill gap, only the video here that's on video track 1 will move to fill in that gap. If I select fill gap and move all clips, you see all video, all audio on all tracks will move left to ripple or to fill in that gap. Likewise, if I were to choose a clip and insert it by placing it between 2 clips, I get an option screen. I can either overwrite the clip or replace it. I can create a crossfade transition between this clip and the clip that's underneath it. Or I can select the option to insert and move all clips, in which case all the clips on all of the tracks are going to move to the right. Watch. When I select that, all of the clips ripple off to allow me to insert that clip. You'll see the same thing happen as we trim clips. Trimming means removing a little bit of video from the front or back of a clip. So if I thought this video clip was a little long and I wanted to trim it, you notice when I hover on the edge, I get this little trim indicator. If I click and drag in, I have the option of simply trimming and leaving a gap there, trimming, moving all the clips on this track, or trimming and moving all the clips on all tracks and rippling them all in. Now that may seem a little bit clunky because you're always having to make decisions, but there are keyboard shortcuts also. So for instance, if I were to select this clip and delete it by pressing the delete button, you notice I get these pop-ups here. Well, you can see if I select Alt and delete rather than delete, okay, so if I hold down the Alt key and press delete, I don't have to make that decision. The program will automatically ripple for me. So the keyboard combination can save you having to make a decision or read that option screen. Likewise, for inserting 1 clip between 2 clips, you see there's the option to make the entire movie ripple by selecting or holding down the Shift key as you insert the clip. So watch this. Hold down the Shift key, drag that clip in, and the program just knows I wanted to ripple aside. These little rooms on the left that are accessible by these little tabs along the left-hand side will give you access to a number of really cool effects and tools. If I click on Effects, you see these, of course, are video effects, which I can preview simply by selecting one. These are PIP or picture-in-picture overlays. They're little graphics, many of them animated, that you can place right on top of your video. There's a particle room where you see some really cool particles. For instance, you can add rain or snow to a sunny day. In our next session, we're actually going to look at video effects, how to add them, and how to customize them for your particular needs. But there's a lot of really cool stuff in here, including the ability to add subtitles and to add chapters for your DVDs and your Blu-ray discs. Some very cool stuff, and we'll look at a great many of them a little bit later in the course, although we do cover them all in depth in our book, The MoviePix.com Guide to CyberLink PowerDirector Ultimate. I'm Steve Grizzetti. Hope to see you in Part 5.